Peace. So today's mathematics is Wisdom God, and that's 27. And I wanted to briefly give you an overview of today's mathematics and a practical example of how you could apply it to your everyday life. The irony of today's mathematics is that it's a Sunday, and Sunday is one of the most segregated days of the week here in America in particular, because you have various different people who go to different houses of worship that study different religious texts, and the underlying intention of going to those houses of worship and studying those texts is to extract the wisdom of their concept of God. Even though it may be veiled in ritual and ceremony and various different other things, the underlying intention is to extract the wisdom of God. Now, here is one of the challenges. With religion, not only does it have its own built-in prejudices, but it's a hierarchy. So the person at the top acts in the capacity as a facilitator or mediator between you and that concept of God. And there's nothing that is wrong with that if it's genuine, it's intentional, and that the goal of that mediator or facilitator is to ultimately directly help connect people to that concept of God. But that is usually not what's going on in some of these religions. The people who are the mediators and the facilitators remain that. And what ends up happening with a lot of people who worship is it's easy to get confused and led in the wrong direction, simply because you have a mediator or a facilitator between you and that concept of God. Now think about this. That concept of God or creator, the greatest evidence, an example of that creator's presence is in the creation itself. Even those houses of worship that people go to, the elements that are used to construct those houses of worship, as well as the religious texts themselves, being parchment, paper, or papyrus, or whatever they're actually inscribed on, those are derived from nature or from the creation. So one of the most straightforward ways for people to get a sense of what that concept of God is to just study creation and study nature. But oftentimes you have people who are in those positions that are not mediating or facilitating a process for people to be connected in that way. Now think, for example, there may be a church that people go to and they're learning about God and they're worshiping and going through all of these ceremonies and rituals, but yet there is no program to teach people how to maintain a proper diet, teaching them what foods are appropriate or what foods are inappropriate, teaching them about the importance of exercise and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Some people think that that is totally distinct or separate from their worship. So what ends up happening is people are ill-equipped to recognize that the creator that they worship is not only evident in the creation, but the creation itself is interdependent. Everything relies on something else. And it working that way, people are not learning that there is an intimate connection between themselves and everything that they see around them. So you see people that will walk across town or walk a couple blocks to go to a house of worship and be completely oblivious to the nature or the environment that's around them. That is evidence of the creator or evidence of creation. So one of the things that I encourage people to do is, if you are attending a house of worship or you're reading religious texts or anything, strive to find nature in that text. Strive to extract the wisdom of the person that is mediating or facilitating that process. And then additionally, study nature and study creation. That gives you a direct link to extract that wisdom of that creation, because it shows you the interdependence of all things and your role in relationship to all things. So this was inspiring, it was empowering, it was educational, and gave you a very practical example of how to extract the wisdom of God. Study creation. Study nature. Peace.